Should agree is topic number 5. Does he have a point, or is he being a baby? This comes with a link that takes us to Twitter. I hope it's not a long thing here. The video, the comments are expressly disappointing and concerning. I feel like there's a lot to unpack here. So this is a tweet from mech.23. Let's play the video, then we'll discuss it.
I'm a nigga, all right? So, say I got an acne breakout. My man point that out. Now, he pointed out an insecurity, cracked the joke. It was actually funny. Now, everybody at the table is laughing. Now, I'm insecure and I'm embarrassed. But I'm a man. I'm a boy, all right? I'm a nigga, all right? So, I'm not just finna let this nigga think that he just bitched me, that I'm in my feelings over a joke. I'm gonna just retaliate with another joke. And you see how the cycle continues. Because you don't want to look like you can't take a joke, all you do is retaliate with another joke. But when you leave that table and you go home, you thinking about what he said, like, is my acne really? Do I really have a piece of face? You really start questioning yourself based off of a joke from your man's. And the only thing that made him crack that joke on you is because he's insecure in himself. The only thing that made you retaliate was because you're insecure in yourself. It takes so much mental fortitude to actually not be a victim of this. Niggas watching this are gonna brush this off and think they're not a victim. No, I promise you, 98% of niggas are victims of this. Like, I literally watched my mans, bruh. In high school, sophomore year, point out a girl, he'll go up and go smack, and he'll bag her too. Now, he done put on a little weight, but the men he always with his 2 men. They always cracking jokes on the weight he put on. Now he has zero confidence to go up and talk to him. This nigga look the exact same in the face. He's more mature. A girl is gonna fuck with him more now than who he used to be. But because he is always getting torn down and joked on, and he knows that, all right, it's actually kind of true, I have put on weight. Now you're insecure, all because of your men. These niggas that you love are tearing down your mental fortitude, but they don't even know that's what they're doing. It's not just words, it's not just jokes. All right. Every every joke got a little bit of truth to it. The best jokes got a little bit of truth. So when they say that, it's coming from a real place. That's why they are laughing, because they know it's actually true a little bit. And that shit just pierces the ego. All right. It's beating down your mental fortitude.
Again, I'll say two things can be true. I want to play it again, just so everyone gets the full gist of it. There's only a 2-minute 20-second video. I'll play it one more time and then we'll discuss it.
Say I got a acne breakout. My man point that out. Now, he pointed out an insecurity, cracked a joke. It was actually funny. Now everybody at the table is laughing. Now I'm insecure and I'm embarrassed. But I'm a man. I'm a boy. All right. I'm a nigga. All right. So I'm not just finna let this nigga think that he just bitched me, that I'm in my feelings over a joke. I'm gonna just retaliate with another joke. And you see how the cycle continues. Because you don't want to look like you can't take a joke, all you do is retaliate with another joke. But when you leave that table and you go home, you thinking about what he said, like, is my acne really? Do I really have a piece of face? You really start questioning yourself based off of a joke from your man's. And the only thing that made him crack that joke on you is because he's insecure in himself. The only thing that made you retaliate was because you're insecure in yourself. It takes so much mental fortitude to actually not be a victim of this. Niggas watching this are gonna brush this off and think they're not a victim. No, I promise you, 98% of niggas are victims of this. Like, I literally watched my mans, bruh. In high school, sophomore year, point out a girl, he'll go up and go smack, and he'll bag her too. Now, he done put on a little weight, but the men he always with his 2 men. They always cracking jokes on the weight he put on. Now he has zero confidence to go up and talk to him. This nigga look the exact same in the face. He's more mature. A girl is gonna fuck with him more now than who he used to be. But because he is always getting torn down and joked on, and he knows that, all right, it's actually kind of true, I have put on weight. Now you're insecure, all because of your men. These niggas that you love are tearing down your mental fortitude, but they don't even know that's what they're doing. It's not just words, it's not just jokes. All right. Every psych nah, every joke got a little bit of truth to it. The best jokes got a little bit of truth. So when they say that, it's coming from a real place. That's why they are laughing, because they know it's actually true a little bit. And that shit just pierces the ego. All right. It's beating down your mental fortitude.
Okay, like I said before, I think two things can be true. I think there's a healthy amount of ribbon you should take in your youth, but I do believe that this goes back to what we talked about. I think it was a week or maybe 2 weeks, but I think it was last week, that decorum thing. There's a point where you gotta also raise people up who have some decorum. Okay, you threw your two jabs in. Now let's leave it alone. Let's not beat a dead horse type thing. Let's not overdo it. So I think it's two things can be true. Let me go to gas him up. Gas him up. Does he have a point, or is he being a baby?
I think this is shout out to Jose. Me and Jose, we talk about this all the time. These are the men you could tell, these young boys who they're mama's boys. You know, their mothers raised them. I always say all the time, none of us are our father's sons. You know, most of us are our mother's boys. These guys don't know how to be men. Um, Personally, I don't. I personally don't understand the excessive joking because ain't shit that funny. Just personally, right? And typically, I really don't like to joke at another man's expense when there's women around. I'm just being honest. Typically, I may have done it a couple of times, but typically, I don't like to do that. And
Yeah,
um,
we've
you
seen
know, yeah.
we've seen your handiwork, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, listen, look, but in my defense, I've also, stopped some women from saying certain things about some men on certain platforms because I knew where they were going. Because I'm not here to watch any man get teared down or torn down, and I think these are just feminine behaviors. They learn this from their mamas. They watch how their mamas and their aunties are fake and phony around each other, and so they grew up doing the same thing. That's why they go to clubs and kill themselves and shoot each other dead because they don't know how to conduct themselves like men. And it's just this endless peacocking and stunning on each other. That's why they're doing it. And again, they quite often they do this in front of. It's one thing if you have a group of men and we're all ribbing each other amongst ourselves. We're cracking jokes amongst ourselves, like you said, to build, that ability to build that mental psyche when things are tough. You can laugh in the face. Um, have a little bit of self deprecation or self depreciating humor. That's one thing amongst fellas, but a lot of times you see it. You see it in with the way celebrities treat themselves. There's one where Jamie Foxx was at a roast, and there was another comedian at the roast, and Jamie Foxx just obliterates this guy, right? And his career was never the same ever since.
Yeah, real bad.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and they're laughing, ha ha ha. These are women, and that's why I don't like that industry. I don't want none of their fame. I don't want their success because, like, these people are sick people, man. Like, they'll take delight in just tearing you down and tell you, yeah, man, it's the industry, baby, it's life, ha. I just can't see it, especially like I said, when women come around, I hate any, let me not say that I hate, but whenever I see a man start trying to insult other men, and I've been on platforms where they do it all the time, when the women come around, they're like, oh, gosh, let's hear the women talk. Go ahead, sister. It's like, yeah, you sound like a freaking, it, you sound like a tampon, you just kill yourself, it's disgusting. But I don't know. I'm just tired of men. Just it's sick. Stop insulting other men in front, especially in front of women. Especially in front of women, because these are the same guys that curse you out and say you a bum and you this. They don't help no other man. And when they do help another man, huh? You better watch your bottom because they want to take you out.
Acne breakout, my man.
When they want to help you out, you better watch your bottom because then they want to take you to lunch or they want you to go party with them so you can drink cocktails and things like that. You know, you got to be careful. No disrespect to anybody, right? You know, but I'm just saying, but this is a problem, and you know, I see it all the time as an educator. You see these single mother young men. This how they treat each other. You know, so I'll stop. I don't want to ramble, but yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was also thinking that too. Something you said, I think I connected a little differently. But funny enough, those responses tend to come from both of the responses tend to come from too much femininity around these fellas. You know, you get a couple jokes cracked on you, and I ran in front of a girl. In fact, when I was in college, we kind of had to create a rule of like, yo, man, when a man, woman around, don't be cracking those jokes because we know, because all of us were Caribbean, we know that could be a killing script, right? Um, but at the same time, the men who don't even get the real hard licks, but they all upset and whiny and all this type of shit. They also get that from, I believe, and for what I've seen, often from the women that they're around too. Like there's a group of men who tend to respond like their mama and them do, or like the women around them do. Kanye West is a big one of these kind of guys. Um, so I like I said, I think he has a point, and I think Gas kind of does a good job of kind of illustrating when it's acceptable, when it goes too far, when your response is bitch made, etc. like that. So I appreciate what Gas had to say about it. Juana, what say you?
I think it's interesting that how this man introduced. First, let me say this: is I see two different things going on here. The first thing I saw is how this man introduced himself, and we talked about wearing different hats as far as Malcolm X was concerned, and I found it interesting how he introduced himself. He said, "I'm a man." He said, "I'm a boy," and he said, "I'm an N word." And then he settled with that and talked in terms of being an N word, not in terms of being a boy, not in terms of being a man. I found that interesting. It's just interesting the psychological evaluations we make in our mind as black men. That's interesting. Needless to say, I think that this whole idea of roasting, for me, it was a rites of passage going on, because for me, it's a way that young men, black men in particular, develop a sense of thick skin. You know what I mean? Because either you won't get in every fight in the world because a man say something crazy or something that you don't like, or you gonna develop a thick skin because you want to get your own opinion about the world. Say, well, you think I have a big nose or you think I have big teeth, man, but I think I have lovely teeth. You know what I mean? It's a way of getting your own opinion about the world and dealing with your own insecurities because the world is going to treat you worse. In particular, it's I feel like it's like almost like a defensive mechanism based on the system that we live within, and it's just it teaches us on a
Juana,
psychological level.
can
Hello?
I
Can you
interject
hear
real
me?
quickly? Yeah, I can
Can
hear
you hear
you.
me?
I just
Oh,
want to
sure,
interject
sure. Go
real
ahead,
quick.
brother. Yes, go ahead.
No, wait right there. It's just quick. I just want to say that, people say that, right? That roasting and stuff prepares you for the world. There's no part of the, especially professional or adult world, where a gaggle of fellas is just starting up roasting me. Like that's never the case. That hasn't been the case since I was probably a high school student in CI. Like that's never
I'm
the
glad
case.
you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's not gonna happen in that way. You as a professional person, when you go into these professional arenas, just as everyone else, they're not gonna roast you in groups like that, right? Directly. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna question your level of professionalism as if you don't have the same capabilities as these white guys out here. As if you ain't going to the same schools, as if you ain't develop the skill set that you are under right now. So they're gonna try to question and undermine it. But you haven't been to this foray. You understand that you have the abilities. You have a sense of self, and you have your own opinions about the world. So it's almost like developing a thick skin because they are gonna question your level of professionalism.
But
Even
Bonner,
even the students will do it. You know what I mean? They can say, "Well, is he really a professor?" You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? I've earned these kinds of titles, and I've earned the ability to do these kinds. They're gonna
yeah,
always
but
question
Bonner,
these things.
but Bonner,
Yes, sir.
Bonner.
Yes.
What I'm trying to get at is
Yeah.
why then not, instead of dealing in the low vibrational roasting, why don't we create a culture that then, if you're gonna roast someone, how about roast them on the understanding of Pythagoras theorem and the application of that theorem? How about
Yeah,
roast them on? I'm sorry, go ahead.
like I say, you and Gas, y'all are running ahead because yes, in a right world, in a world that is built on a foundation of justice and merit and all these other things, yes, we should roast each other on these kinds of terms. But we talking about the level we are right now. These street dudes, they don't read books like we do. You know what I mean? So they
Wanna
only
just
gonna
say the truth. Pythagoras ain't gonna get you no pussy,
they only gonna
and
like
that's
I
the
said,
only reason why they're roasting, because they do it 90% of the time in front of women.
they
It's a
probably
way
ain't
of
even ever
putting
heard of
down.
they probably never heard of Pythagoras. But we are dealing with on the level of brothers who ain't schooled like how we would like them to be to question them on these kinds of matters. So they only
But
gonna they only gonna use
shouldn't
huh?
our discussions be on the level of what we are and what we're trying to see?
Our discussions because we talk at a very academic level, a very academic level. Your brothers do. I don't talk at academic level. Your brothers talk at a very academic level, but to the level of the regular person on the street, they're gonna talk on the level of what, in terms of the things that they understand. And I feel like it's a defensive mechanism because the world gonna tell them they're a bunch of shit and they're worth nothing. And I think that this is a mechanism to develop, I believe, to develop thick skin. You know what I mean? Thick skin, because you have to
But
have
why do
this.
they have to always do it in front of women? That's the one thing. Like I said, I noticed that even on other panels and platforms, as soon as the women come around, that's when the jokes come out, and that's when everybody starts. And I personally, I don't like doing that. I'm like, I don't think we should. We can joke if it's all men, that's fine. We can crack at each other. That's cool. But once you see a woman come around, it got to stop. That should be a standard. But no, it's even
Nah,
more
come on,
pronounced.
man.
It's even more piled on, and everybody does it in front of women. And it's just like I've never seen women shit on each other in terms of insults when a man is around. They'll shit on each other like they'll wear the tighter dress, they'll stick their butt out, who has the bigger breast, blah blah blah, to insult each other. But women don't tear each other down for male entertainment, but men will tear each other down in hopes that yes, my money's good, I look better than him. I told you he's ugly. I told you this. I told you this, just so she can feel like yeah, I'm the man. And it's like, why are you tearing down other men in front of women? It's
I
stupid, and
I
men have
think
to stop that.
I think it does happen, like you say, in front of women, and that's weak brothers. But I get roasted continuously. I get roasted for liking big girls, and
You
I
get
don't I
Pan
don't.
African roasted though.
Oh, I get roasted. And if Razuli was on the show, he'll attest to it. I get roasted for
Well,
liking.
who's the? Typically, there's only one person who starts it, right?
Oh man, I
Because
get
you and
roasted.
him. No,
Oh
but
man.
who's the person who starts your roasting? Is typically Azuli.
Oh,
Azuli will call you whatever he calls you.
and
Then
then
you
I
say
get
something
piled up
about
on.
him.
I get
Exactly.
piled
So
up.
you two have your relationship where y'all go back and forth. But generally speaking, Koku doesn't just bring out a roast. I don't bring out a roast. So I'm just saying that's because what you guys typically do. So I'm just saying though that historically, or I'm just saying as men, I think we need to aspire, and we need when we see another man roasting another man, especially in front of women for laughs, we need to call that man out and say, yo, that's corny.
No, I agree with that. I think that if you are doing it because another sister is in a room and you trying to get brownie points, I think that's weak. But like I say, I think the brothers, we roast each other all the time on the panel, and I think that all of us have a sense of security within ourselves to know, well, regardless of what this person thinks or says, but I guess we are men, so I think that with the younger guys, I think it's a little bit different. So I would understand from that perspective that it's all about the P, and they trying to gain brownie points to get closer to the P. So I would understand. Even older men do it, so I would understand that.
I'll also say that respectfully, I think we got to stop kicking the can down the road. I think we got to stop saying well, our people ain't ready right now. Well, if we keep saying our people ain't ready right now, we'll be in the year 3200, 5500. I'm still saying the people ain't ready. There's a point where you just got to change it up. You just got to make up your mind. You know what? Now's the time to change this shit up. I'll just repeat one last time before I go to Marcus Garvey's The Way. I'm just saying I don't mind a good roasting. I used to roast and get roasted, even up through college and stuff. We used to do it. Azuli is one of the better roasters out there, right? But at the same time, I think that roasting stuff needs to stop being so low vibrational. Your mama bust up crabby or something like. I mean, come on, man. Like, there's a point, and that's a 32-year-old man saying some shit like that. Like come on, man.
The brothers only could speak things that is because whether we know it or not, or whether we like to admit it or not, the brothers are limited as in terms of their vocabulary and the things that they could discuss because they're not necessarily the biggest readers or thinkers. So they're limited to the world that exists, that they understand and they know. I think that you would see them develop. The roasting will be developed or evolved where they develop some skill or do a little bit more reading, where the content will be a little bit different. But they are who they are, and they are where they are, and we must approach them where they are. I understand they all don't want to do that because like I say, you're all ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes that's the discussion that's missing. And I think that's missing from the discussion. I think that's missing from the discussion. The regular man on the street, he is limited to what he knows and understands. And unfortunately, that may not necessarily be where you all are or where you all are positioned. And I think that the onus is on us to help them or help them develop them in a way or point them to something that would be able to develop them more and evolve them more in their thinking.
I'm going to just push back just a touch. Just a touch. I think there's something called maturity too, man. That there's certain things supposed to kick in. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, blah, blah, blah. I think certain things supposed to kick in. I think, like I used the example just now, a big 32-year-old man, telling me about my mother bust up crabby or something. Like, dude, like, you still hanging around high schoolers or something? Like, by the time you hit 32, man, some things supposed to be kicking in by now.
That's based off of your belief and thinking. I know many grown old men who still have earring in their ears and wear tennis.
Remember, I always say we are not our father's sons. We are our mother's boys.
Oh, goodness.
How many of us can beat our chest and say we're our father's sons?
I'm one of them. I could say I'm my father's son, but I understand where you're coming from with that. A lot of men raised by their moms, but I do know that there are many of us that suffer from infantilism. A lot of us are grown people in grown bodies, but mentally we are still children, and I think that that's the unfortunate part to our reality.
Yeah, and that's what like the Amos Wilsons, the John Henry Clarks, whoever else, I can't think of the other names right now, but Francis Cress Welsing and Neely Fuller and all these kind of guys, they talk about, we're like children, right? Look at the entertainers and stuff. Lil this, baby that, right? To the point where there's like 2 or 3 babies out right now, and I can't tell who's who, right? Like hats backward, pants sagging. You can't pull up your pants like you're a child. In fact, some of these dudes are actually buying child-sized pants that are not long enough yet so that they could sag them. Like 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 the matron said in the chat, we can't get past hazing as a society. And you want them to process Pythagoras or Imhotep, right? The masses of
But Koku, let's be, even the ones that who went to college, right? And no disrespect to anybody, but if you were in a fraternity, that's some infantile stuff to me.
yeah.
I gotta call another grown man big brother. He gotta paddle me. I
Yeah.
mean, some of the stuff I've read, these guys, you gotta let people put peanut butter in your butt cheeks, and you gotta eat a semen sandwich. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that this is what I've read that's happened to them. Part of the hazing. This is some infant stuff. Like, wait, so just so I can be cool and step and march and shout, I gotta call another man big brother and let him do whatever he wants to me? So on one hand, the college educated ones will look down on the baby and little baby, but they'll gladly let big brother essential water bottle smack him upside the head. What's going on here?
Absolutely. Even areas that I would consider like a serious place to have to go to, prison. I'm watching some interview on Vlad, and these two dudes is talking about how dudes go and eat spicy, what's it called again? Spicy, flaming hot Cheetos, and spit in someone's ass or some shit like that. Like, what are we doing? Like, you went you big men went to prison, and that's still like there's a point, like the matron says, absolutely we need to do. We gotta change that. We just can't keep saying that's just how it is, or that's just where our people are right now. What are we doing to get our people to be bigger than that? To sit at the adult table now? Observing immigrants, Marcus Garvey is the way. What say you to all of this?
Well, I didn't think I would agree so much with gas them up tonight, but um I do think that women play a factor in this because, especially as Caribbean people, we know that our mothers are the ones that tell us, "Oh, you're too black, your lips too big, you look like your daddy," all that stuff. So I kind of feel that that is the birthing place of um a bit of the dehumanization of the children by the mothers first and foremost, because I don't think so much the dads are walking around saying, "Oh, you look like your daddy," or you look like your mommy or whatever. So I kind of feel that the mothers are responsible for that part of it. So you get the derogatory comments coming from someone else about you. So I kind of feel that some of these kids then take this into the world. In high school, I remember these two boys, Raymond and what was his name? Danny. Raymond and Danny. Danny would every day get roasted by Raymond, and Raymond was loud about it. And you know what he was roasting Danny about every single day? How black Danny was. And I'm like, you know, we're in a black country. So Danny is black. And so what? But Raymond would roast Danny every day in front of the class or any public place. And Raymond was bigger and more aggressive. And Danny was his friend. And I don't know if Danny was his friend because he was his friend or if he didn't know how to get away from Raymond. But Raymond would publicly and loudly roast Danny. And we had a class where we had two Indians, one white male and one white female in our class, in a predominantly black class. But Raymond felt that he had to point out every day how black Danny was. And I'm like, but other than that, um, I think it's sad that people have to roast each other to communicate. But I also understand that as part of human behavior. I can understand it with kids and teenagers to a point. But as y'all mentioned, grown men shouldn't be doing that shit. You should have at some point you need to grow out of it. So that's all I have to say.
I appreciate that, Marcus Garvey. I thought I heard someone's mic open. In the chat, Trigapi262 says there are definitely some anti-black things that gets passed off as roasting or a joke. This is literally the foundation of diaspora wars. We excuse calling each other primitive because it's quote unquote jokes. That's why I say, even though I have slight disagreements, there's also a line. Things you can't change is the line. No, I feel you on that, Trigger. Happy. Yeah, I just think we gotta start to evolve, man. Like you gotta grow up. You just gotta grow your dumb ass up sometimes, man. Like you still roasting people about being black. Just saying, like there's some dudes who, and I get what Untouchable's saying, they didn't expose themselves, but that whose fault is that too? Like you never decided that there's something more to know, there's something more to learn, there's something more to experience. You ain't realized you telling the same type of jokes you was telling at 35 that you was telling at 15. Like, nah, man, we got to absolutely we got to start building ourselves up better than that, man. I want to drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 6. I'm going to drop it now. Shoot the Breeze topic number 6 is going to be finding your Africanness. But I want to do a station ID real quick. So you guys sit back for a minute. We'll be back on the other side. All right, stay tuned.